So they say that they talked about it two ways. They say that they used to take these large bodies of Africans and put them in the Caribbean. And then those Africans threw off the oppressors called the Maroon Societies, and they had these revolts. So they decided, look, we're going to take them to America and break them into small lots. But it won't be one nation that can take over. It'll be different African tribes from all over Africa. And we'll break them into small lots and intermarry them or intermingle them. And so as a result, the Westerner that they're talking about, or especially the African American, represents the putting back together of all the African tribes through the DNA. Because the African in this country has all of the different African tribes in its DNA. In its DNA. You know, in its DNA. You see. Put back together. Even the Schomburg in 2000, they said, well, you know, our story is a very unique story. Because our story as far as African Americans is not only where did we come out of Africa, but they intermix all different nations of Africa together in the DNA. You see? Because they didn't have the big lots of African that could come together and overthrow people based on big unity. So they broke them up into smaller pieces in America. And as a result, you got a new creation of the original. You got a new creation of the original. You see, so in so many words, the coming of the African to the West is actually the coming together of a new being that would be an even greater creation. Because it has all the elements of all the different Africans, and including all the different races in the world in it. That's true. You see. And that's putting back the body of Osiris. It's cut up into several pieces. But he'll be put back in the West. You see. Putting back the body of Osiris. So we saw all of this coming. We knew it was going to happen thousands of years before it happened. And we worked through hell, you see what I'm saying, to get a product together that we don't even know the power we hold now. Just by going through slavery. You see. We got texts coming from the Library of Alexandria of a group of people. They said a group of, we'll say Phoenicians. See, in that way, because if we put it back on the continent, we'll say group of Africans. And they said they took the group of Africans and put them together in a boat. But they were the greatest heroes. It's in the text, Jason of the Argonauts. He took the great heroes, they say from around Greece, but actually from around Phoenicia. Or we can say Greek because that was black culture too. And they put the greatest ones in one boat to sail to the ends of the earth to get the golden fleece. And the golden fleece, in so many words, is the earlier version of what you would call the Christ now. So in order to make this Christ, it took the best of us, put him in a boat, sail to the ends of the earth to get the golden fleece. You see, well, that's what happened with us. The best of us came united in the West, put back together after a separation of Osiris. You see, and the thing about it here is we just don't know what happened because we're still looking at the victim side of it. shows you tragedy, yes. But there's a silver lining to what actually happened. It's a process, you see. And as a result, we can tell you right now, who had the resurgence? Because they talk about in the last days, in the Gospel of Thomas, which was one of the books they took out of the Bible from the Conference of Nicaea. They say in the last days, all things that were hidden will come to manifest, and knowledge will be quickened. In the last 20 years, who was the one that brought this knowledge back? Although we had several Africans and several people from the Caribbean and stuff, but as far as the knowledge being presented, it is an American phenomenon. You see, because Africa, you got places they don't have access to books. Even in the Caribbean, they got places they don't even have access to the libraries like this. So this phenomenon that we call the Afrocentric movement or the Black Conscious movement, although it's made up of different people from the diaspora, the underpinning of it is an African-American phenomenon. So here again, just that alone lets you know, in all honesty, it shows the Africa being put back together in the West. It's a Western phenomenon. You see. So on one hand, you're looking at tragedy, you're not even noticing what just transpired within the last 20 years, 25 years. You see. Because everything has to start with ideas coming back together. Otherwise, you don't have nothing if you don't have knowledge. Know thyself. You see? And we know that phenomenon happened in the West. You see? So it's amazing. You got any questions?
Well, maybe we should call this from Pharaoh to Negro to what? A new humanity?
Pharaoh, from Pharaoh to Negro to new humanity.
Bobby, any words in closing you'd like to say to our people who are watching this?
Yeah, I think they say never look at the apparent. When you look at, like I said before, the Barack Obama thing, now a lot of people are getting disappointed based on the policies and the things that transpire and stuff like that. We're not talking about that. The phenomenon, and even though there might have been sinister moves on the reason why people put him in, nevertheless, they don't know that although they put him in thinking it's one way, they don't know that there are tools of the Spirit that's working. So they might say, this is a conspiracy. This is sinister. We're going to put this man in because we have a certain agenda. But what they don't realize is the unseen hand, Spirit's hand, that put him in for a spirit purpose, just for the psychological phenomenon of black people having something we never had before. You see, it's like the guy Eugene Robinson. He works for the Washington Post. He said, I can tell my daughters about black teachers, black lawyers. Every job in this country, they got something. He said, but I never could tell them about no president. He said, that's wiped out now, because we've already done that. You see, so for a psychological purpose of seeing a black man and a dark-skinned, bootylicious wife. You see what I'm saying? She is the quintessential black woman, the one that went through the process of slavery. Because see, now the right wing Republicans are saying Barack Obama is not an African American because his mama's white and his dad is Kenyan. Now all of a sudden they are saying before, if you a slave, you ain't shit. But now they're saying he didn't go through the slave phenomenon, so he's not authentic. Don't matter. Michelle Obama is up in there.